Carson City. It's 1858 and you've rounded up your posse of cowboys. Your plan is to buy up the best land in Carson City and build on it. To do this, you're going to have to recruit the help of the city's local personalities, and perhaps challenge a rival to a duel or two. The winner is the most prominent citizen in Carson City by the end of 4 rounds. You'll achieve this title by getting the most victory points throughout the game, and you'll get victory points for quite a number of things, which I'll get into later. Carson City accommodates between 2 to 5 players. It's an okay game with 2, but plays much better with more as player interaction increases, and you'll also be dealing with a bigger city if you play with more players. Recommended ages on the box is 13 plus. Approximate time, the manufacturer says 90 minutes. I'd say anywhere between 60 and 90, depending on the experience and number of players in the game. So let's have a look at how this game is played.
Carson City is a heavier sort of game, and here I'm only going to give you a brief description of the gameplay. Each player will begin with some money and a revolver chip. Revolver chips add to the player's firepower, which is used for duels. Players will also get 3 cowboy meeples to start and a road. On the board we have the player's markers on the victory point path that continues around the outside. This section of the board represents a territory of the future town of Carson City. Players will be able to buy land by placing a cowboy on an empty parcel of land here. Buildings can also be built on land after being purchased. A player starts with 2 parcels of land, indicated by the coloured markers here in orange and yellow. Here we have the action squares. Players will also be able to place a cowboy on a square here that they feel will benefit their strategy. So let's have a closer look at this area. First, this section indicates the current turn order. Turn order changes throughout the game depending on the personality card a player chooses and when they choose to pass in the cowboy placement phase. When players place cowboys on a square here, they will get to execute that action if unchallenged. Actions here will be things like get $4 for each of his cowboys on the square, receive 3 new roads, receive 1 road for each of his cowboy on this square, roll 2 dice and receive that amount in cash, buy a building for the cost below it. Players here will be able to purchase victory points for the amount indicated. Each turn, however, the turn marker will eliminate the cheaper ones, excluding those from play. The orange squares indicate triggers for actions that will occur in the city below. The order for actions follows as indicated. So let's begin the game. There are 4 phases: personality selection, cowboy placement, action and duels, and end of round cleanup. There are 7 personalities to choose from in Carson City, all of which will give you a bonus of some sort. Things like bonus firepower, bonus roads, money, land, etc. Each player chooses a personality. Here yellow chooses a Chinese coolie, which will give him 2 additional roads, and he'll get half price off a building if he chooses to build one. Orange chooses a mercenary. The mercenary's bonus is 3 extra firepower for the rest of the turn. Personality cards will determine the turn order for the following phase, which is placing cowboys. Turn order is adjusted in ascending order by the number on the personality card. So, yellow first, and then orange. Players now begin placing cowboys on squares according to the turn order, one after the other, until a player passes. Now, orange chooses to pass, and moves his turn token to the first available spot. Next turn, he'll be first to choose the personality card. Yellow places his last cowboy, then moves his turn token. So following the sequence on the board, we will follow each action as we pass them, stopping at orange squares and any squares with cowboys on them. This square is parcel purchase. Any players with a cowboy on vacant land here will now get the opportunity to buy this land. It will cost $1 plus $1 for each house, building or mountain next to it. So, $4 for yellow. After paying the bank, yellow takes the yellow marker to indicate it is his land. Next, yellow buys a building for the cost listed beneath it. Because he played the coolie, he would actually only have to pay half. He then chooses to place it on his recently purchased land. Our ranch will give him a revolver token. Next, we have the estate income. Yellow is the only one currently with a building. A ranch earns its owner $1 for each vacant space next to it. So yellow will receive $5 from the bank. If two players are on the same square, they'll have to duel to see which player will get to do that action. Here they are dueling over the purchase of victory points for $2. A player's firepower for a duel is the number of revolver tokens he has, plus the amount of cowboys in his personal reserve. The orange player also will get the benefit of his personality card. So, currently yellow will have 2, orange will have 6. They will then each roll a dice and add that for the total. Orange wins and yellow's cowboy goes back to his personal reserve, and orange can purchase victory points for $2. The turn token will then move, players will get more cowboys. One last thing though, you will have to give up any money over the personality card's limit. So, if yellow currently had $50, he would have to discard down to $30. Now this sounds like a bad thing, but for each $10 given up, you'll gain 1 victory point. Players will also get the opportunity at the end of the game to buy victory points for $6. You're also going to get victory points for your contributions to the city.
Now there have been 2 editions of the rulebook, so don't let the significant amount of rules questions on Board Game Geek mislead you into thinking the rulebook leaves a lot unsaid. Most of those questions are now outdated. And a thank you goes out to Fleder Mousehouse, a user on Board Game Geek that was very proactive in the Carson City forums, particularly in rectifying the matters concerning the first edition rule queries. Now those first edition rules were only for the pre-S and print runs, so the rulebook in circulation now, which is the one I have, is well written and well laid out. Components. You're getting a lot of components in the game of quite high quality. The board is excellent and the artwork is fantastic, as you would have seen. And, well, I mean, you got to love the cowboy meeples. But I've got to just mention that I got blue property tiles to go with purple meeples, which seemed a bit odd. It's no big deal, it's just a bit odd. But anyway, overall the components of the game are very good. Now before getting the game, I'd contacted a user on Board Game Geek that had rated the game a 10, just to sort of say that I'd ordered the game. I had some dealings with this user before and he's always been really helpful. In his reply, one of the things he mentioned about Carson City was that a few people didn't like the random element that the dice introduced for duels. And I'd seen this mentioned in forums as well, but he also explained that a few games in, firepower is mainly used as an intimidation tactic, and it's sometimes not worth possibly losing an action by risking a cowboy in a duel, which has been true in our games. Although when you have by far the most firepower around the table and you put one of your cowboys on a juicy spot and no one wants to challenge you, as he said, now that's power. So thanks Yocky Boy or Yorkster Man. I found your take on duels was correct in our games. We often were sort of hesitant to duel as there may be another free spot that we could use to our benefit. I'll just say now that aiming for the most firepower is only one of quite a few strategies in the games, and it's not necessarily the best one. I like to mix it up a bit and keep an eye on what my opponents are doing and sort of adjust my strategy as I go. In saying that though, I'm no genius at the game. I will say that I lose it quite a bit, but it's still a fun game. I've had great fun with this game and it's been a very positive gaming experience for me. I really like how many routes can be taken in order to obtain victory points. It makes for a lot of interesting games. Also in the rulebook there are quite a few variants which will increase its replay value as you can give those a try. It'll also allow you to tailor the game somewhat to what you think your game will, your gaming group will like. One of those variants will eliminate dice from duels if you think that's something that's going to bother you. I love Carson City. The components are great, the gameplay is great, the mechanics are excellent. It's a straight 9 out of 10 for me. I think this will be requested frequently to hit the table. It will definitely be staying in my collection and I can't wait till my next game of Carson City.